In Chicago, as in most American cities, there really is a rental crisis.
Democrats and Republicans believe the state should ensure access to housing loans, grants, and other assistance for buyers and owners located in community land trusts.
Back in 2003, when the Illinois General Assembly passed what sounded like a serious attempt to address a growing crisis, the Affordable Housing Planning and Appeal Act. The language was ambitious. The goal was to tackle the shortage of affordable, accessible, safe, and sanitary housing across the state. The mechanism was simple on paper. If a municipality had too little affordable housing, defined as less than 10% of its housing stock.
This morning, help is on the way for working families looking to buy a home in Illinois. Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed off on a pathway to make things a little easier.
It would be required to submit a plan every 5 years explaining how it intended to change that. Not build overnight, not solve everything at once. Just plan, in good faith, for more affordable homes. Fast forward 22 years, and a new report suggests that promise has largely collapsed under the weight of suburban resistance, vague enforcement, and political discomfort. According to Impact for Equity, a nonprofit focused on legal and policy issues in Illinois, only about a quarter of the most recent affordable housing plans submitted to the state actually met the law's requirements. And nearly every jurisdiction subject to the law, 43 out of 44, is located in the Chicago area. This is not a downstate problem, it's a suburban Chicago problem. At the center of the issue is a law that exists, technically, but struggles to function in reality. Municipalities are required to submit these plans every 5 years. The Illinois Housing Development Authority is responsible for identifying which communities fall below the 10% affordable housing threshold and therefore must comply.
A $1.3 minimum billion deficit coming down the pipe this fall.
To determine affordability, the state looks at census data and calculates how many units are affordable to renters earning less than 60% of the area median income, or homeowners earning less than 80%. In the Chicago area, that translates to monthly rents under $1,181, or combined mortgage and property tax costs under $1,575. Numbers that feel increasingly disconnected from the market many families are facing. Yet even with those thresholds, dozens of communities fail to submit compliant plans, or any plans at all, and they've been doing it for years. The law is not doing what it needs to do, said Suni Kartha, an attorney at Impact for Equity and co-author of the report. Her assessment is blunt, and it reflects years of frustration. The organization successfully pushed for amendments to the law in 2023.
The key goals are to expand access to homeownership programs and to support long-term affordability and stability through the exploration of the community land trust model.
Hoping to finally give it some teeth, but whether those changes will actually change behavior remains an open question. One of the biggest changes was supposed to be enforcement. For the first time, the Illinois Housing Development Authority was explicitly allowed to refer non-compliant municipalities to the state attorney general. Jurisdictions that failed to submit a plan, or submitted one, not prepared, in good faith, were warned they should expect to be reported. On paper, this sounded like a turning point. In practice, it's been more of a shrug. The law still doesn't clearly spell out what a referral to the attorney general should lead to. There are no defined penalties, no timelines, no clear indication that prosecution or enforcement is likely or even desired. As Marty Cazzola, another attorney at Impact for Equity and co-author of the report, put it, "We are eager to see how it works in practice." That eagerness carries a hint of skepticism. So far, the answer appears to be not much. According to the Illinois Housing Development Authority, no communities have been referred to the Attorney General, not even those that missed the most recent June deadline. Andrew Field, a spokesperson for the agency, said the authority prefers to work with municipalities to help them get compliant rather than immediately escalate. The review process officially lasts up to 30 days, but in reality, the agency continues working with local governments well past those deadlines. The stated goal is full compliance, not punishment.
This fund, costing $135 million, at best will provide 400 units per year.
That sounds reasonable until you realize how long some communities have been out of compliance. Many of the suburbs that failed to submit plans this year also failed to do so in 2020. The list reads like a who's who of affluent Chicago area towns: Barrington Hills, Lake Forest, Oak Brook, Inverness, South Barrington, Elmhurst, Geneva, River Forest, and more. These are places known for high property values, strict zoning, and fierce resistance to change. And they are precisely the kinds of communities where affordable housing is most scarce. Other municipalities did submit plans, but those plans were deemed non-compliant. Deerfield, Glencoe, Glenview, Wilmette, Winnetka, Western Springs. In some cases, plans were missing basic elements like timelines, identified land for development, or concrete steps for implementation. A plan in name only. Some towns submitted second versions that are still under review. One town submitted late. The process drags on quietly, with little public attention and even less consequence. Impact for Equity's report argues that the state's own methods for determining compliance are inconsistent and unclear, and may actually overestimate how many plans truly meet the law's requirements. Some plans categorized as compliant are missing major components. Others that appear to include those components were labeled non-compliant anyway.
Illinois has an affordable housing crisis, and a new study shows construction crews would need to more than double their current workload to fill that need.
The standards are fuzzy, and the enforcement is softer still. Field pushed back on that criticism, calling the nonprofit's assessment regrettable and emphasizing that the authority has engaged in good faith. Both sides insist they share the same goal, expanding access to housing across Illinois. But the gap between intention and outcome keeps growing. To understand why this matters so much, you have to zoom out and look at what's happening in Illinois' housing market overall. Because while suburbs drag their feet on planning documents, prices are exploding. Inventory is vanishing and families are losing their grip on home ownership. Illinois is short roughly 142,000 housing units right now. To keep up with demand, the state would need to build 227,000 new units over the next 5 years. That would require construction rates to double, a scenario that experts say is highly unlikely under current conditions. This isn't speculation. It's based on a joint study by the Illinois Economic Policy Institute and the Project for Middle Class Renewal at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. The consequences are already visible. According to Zillow's Home Value Index, statewide home values have risen 46.2% since August 2018. A home that sold for about $193,000 6 years ago now costs nearly $283,000. That's almost $90,000 more.
The lowest incomes, we really need public support, particularly from the federal government, but also state and local government, to create more affordable rental housing and also provide rental.
Without a corresponding increase in wages for most working families. In some communities, the increases are even more dramatic. In Park Forest, home prices have more than doubled. In North Chicago, they've jumped by over 123%. These aren't luxury enclaves. They're places that were once considered attainable for middle-class buyers. Now they're slipping out of reach. Behind every percentage point is a family making impossible decisions. Stay and stretch finances to the breaking point. Move farther away from jobs and schools. Give up on ownership entirely. These are not abstract market forces. They're lived realities. And the root cause is painfully simple. There aren't enough homes. Across all 26 metro areas in Illinois, housing inventory has declined since 2018. In the Chicago metro area alone, listings have dropped by 37%, from more than 38,000 homes to just over 24,000.
ADUs in Chicago are accessory dwelling units, and it's a zoning rule or law that allows you to add a unit. Typically it's a basement or it's a co-trap.
Thousands of would-be buyers are locked out. Bidding wars are routine. Prices spiral upward. What makes Illinois' situation especially striking is how badly it compares to the rest of the country. Realtor.com data shows Illinois has recovered only 40% of its pre-pandemic housing listings. The national average is 90%. While listings nationwide have increased by about 15% over the past year, Illinois has seen just a 2% bump. Other states are rebuilding. Illinois is standing still. That stagnation isn't accidental. It's the product of decades of policy choices that make building housing, especially affordable housing, slow, costly, and politically toxic. Restrictive zoning blocks, multi-family homes across much of suburbia. Single-family zoning dominates even near transit and jobs. Parking minimums eat up land and inflate prices. Accessory dwelling units are often banned outright. Layer on Illinois' nation-leading property taxes. And even when homes do get built, carrying costs remain punishing. The fixes aren't mysterious.
2 years has gone by, and now we're realizing that it's no matter what we do to change our process, it's a lot harder than we thought.
Communities could allow duplexes and small multi-unit buildings in single-family zones, eliminate parking minimums near transit, and legalize accessory dwelling units statewide. Chicago has begun to move in this direction. Many suburbs have not, and that's where the Affordable Housing Planning and Appeal Act was supposed to matter, forcing communities to confront their role in a regional crisis. Instead, too many towns have treated the law as optional. Since its passage, only about 560 affordable homes have been built using low-income housing tax credits in communities subject to the law. That's progress, but nowhere near the scale required. The incentives exist. The follow-through does not. The uncomfortable reality is that some of Illinois' wealthiest suburbs remain the least welcoming to affordable housing, and state enforcement has yet to meaningfully change that. Amendments in 2021 and 2023 closed loopholes and opened the door to enforcement. Whether the state will actually walk through it is still unclear. For now, the pattern persists. Missing plans, incomplete filings, sliding deadlines, and no referrals. Meanwhile, families feel the fallout every day. When listings vanish, prices spike, and neighborhoods that once felt attainable quietly slip out of reach.